Hey guys, getting ready to talk to Aidan Gallardo here from GatorsWire, which is part of the USA Today network, and also he's a contributor on Five Reasons, so he's one of our own. But before we get into that, a brief word from our sponsor, 305-800-PAIN. After an accident, every minute counts. With one call to 305-800-PAIN, you get immediate access to trusted doctors and attorneys who guide you step by step. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau, they are a brand you can trust. Much like Five Reasons Canes, 305-800-PAIN is focused on the local community of Miami-Dade County and South Florida. They'll handle all your accident needs, including car accidents, personal injuries, and related legal matters. So after an accident, be sure to call 305-800-PAIN. The number is the brand, 305-800-PAIN. Después de un accidente, cada minuto cuenta. Con una llamada a 305-800-PAIN, ustedes pueden obtener acceso inmediatamente a doctores y abogados para ayudar con todo el proceso. Con una clasificación de A+ del Better Business Bureau, pueden confiar en ellos. 305-800-PAIN tiene mucho en común con los razones Canes. Están enfocados en la comunidad local de Miami-Dade County y Florida del Sur. Ellos pueden ayudar con todo después de un accidente, incluyendo accidentes de carro, lesiones personales y otras cosas legales relacionadas. Entonces, después de un accidente, llama 305-800-PAIN. El número es el nombre de la marca, 305-800-PAIN. And with that, we'll bring Aidan in here to chat about the big game between the Canes and Gators. I'm pleased to be joined now by Aidan Gallardo from GatorsWire, which is part of the USA Today network, and he's also a contributor on Five Reasons with working on our prize picks. Aidan, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on. Exciting matchup, this Saturday, Miami, Florida. Obviously, Florida fans are expecting the outcome to be a little bit different compared to last year, but given how the season's gone on, you don't really know if that could happen. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to talk to you and get kind of the Gator perspective. So you mentioned, the season's gone off to a rocky start. The Gators are 1-2. As I was watching back some of their play, record's a little misleading, I feel. What are your thoughts kind of on how they're feeling at 1-2, given that they haven't actually played that poorly, as from what I could see?
Well, I'll say this, they're 1-2. Obviously, they blew out Long Island, which they should have beat easily. And then USF comes. They play USF at home, and it was a close game. But obviously, Florida fans, they want these type of games to be kind of like blowouts. So the offense has been shaky. I'm not gonna lie there. DJ Lagway hasn't really played up to expectations, especially since last year. He played really well as a freshman, and so going into this year, it's like you'd expect him to make that kind of jump and improvement. But he threw 5 interceptions last week against LSU, and somehow Gators lost by 10 points, 20-10. So that kind of tells you that their defense is solid, because if you throw 5 interceptions, especially against an SEC team, you'd expect, your team to lose by 20 points or so. But it was 20-10. The game was pretty, competitive throughout, despite all those turnovers. But yeah, Florida's 1-2. And so, at this point, I think fans are kind of, I want to say, fans are hoping, Napier really turns it around, especially, coming up on Saturday, because it's a rivalry game. So obviously you don't want to fall to 1-3 heading into, the thick of the SEC schedule.
So. Yeah, the schedule's insane. So this is just like a drop in the bucket. This is a top 5 team. Still have Texas and Texas A&M the next couple of games. So it's a ridiculous schedule. So, but you mentioned, they 5 interceptions on the road, not just against SEC team, but a top 5 team in the country, and still be in the game. Is that a good sign or a bad sign for the Gators?
So it's a mix of both. Again, it tells us that the defense knows what it has to do to keep the Gators afloat in a competitive game. Obviously They know that if their offense is struggling, it's their job to keep the game manageable and in reach. But also, you know, again, it goes back to Lagway and, sort of how he has to, really pay attention to limiting those turnovers because those are really detrimental. I don't know if he had a shoulder injury, a leg injury too, like over the offseason. So he missed a ton of practice. So I don't know how much of that was, physical in terms of like his accuracy, or if it's just mental because he's just making, the wrong reads, and, his accuracy hasn't really looked the same. But again, it's like good and bad for this type of team.
So in terms of the team's confidence in him and the game plan, where do you think they'll look to attack Miami, given that they asked, I mean, again, I rewatched that game and the USF one, and they asked him to do a lot. And so when the mistakes happen, it's easy to point the finger at him. Yeah, but you're kind of asking him to do everything offensively. So do you think there's going to be some kind of modifications of the game plan, maybe pulling back a little bit, or do you think they still have confidence in him?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think these first three games, Florida's really been pass heavy. And so I think, Napier's calling the plays. So I think he's got to kind of keep it balanced because they have really talented running backs. Jaden Ball is a really talented running back. He only had like 6 or 7 carries last week against LSU. And he's averaging like 6 yards per carry too. So it's like there's kind of questions there, like surrounding, why is Napier kind of shying away from the ground game? Because in my opinion, you need a balanced offense in order to, beat these teams like LSU, now Miami. And so, yeah, they're asking Lagway for too much. And so he's dealing with a ton of pressure offensively because I think he feels like he needs to make every throw perfect. And so I think, on Saturday, if the Gators really want to find like that rhythm offensively, they got to rely on the ground game a little bit more because that could set up, the play action passes, keep the defense honest. And I know Miami has a really talented run defense, so it's not going to be, easy by any means. But as long as you keep that balanced approach, I think that'll be a lot better for Florida.
Do you expect to see Bob just be a much larger part of the offense on Saturday than he was last week?
Oh yeah, and last week, like he was really involved in like the passing game. He had a lot of receptions, but again, it's like he's not really carrying the ball a lot, which doesn't make sense to me because he's averaging a ton of yards per carry. So I expect Napier to rely more on the backs in this game, especially early on, to kind of find like that rhythm.
So do you obviously the running backs coach Jabbar Jalouk got suspended. There was all sorts of altercations before the LSU game. Is that going to impact anything on game day, or do you not know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to tell because he's not only the running backs coach, he's also the associate head coach. So he definitely has a major impact on the sidelines. But again, it's like really bizarre news. Obviously, it's like I feel like for this program, it's like one thing after the other. But yeah, it's not a good look for the program at all. And I don't know. We'll see on Saturday because he definitely is a big part of this coaching staff.
Okay, so turning attention to the other side of the ball, like you said, the defense has been outstanding. LSU, one of the touchdowns was a pick six. People are focused a lot on the last drive USF made, but if you recall, the winning margin was actually a snap through the end zone for a safety. Mm-hmm. That's why the 2-point loss was there instead of overtime. So they've been excellent. What is it that they're doing so well to kind of stay in these games despite all of the kind of mistakes from the offense?
Well, I'd say, I feel like they've really been, really locked in terms of, knowing where to go, staying disciplined. Obviously Florida, they committed a lot of penalties against USF. They committed a fair share amount against LSU, but, some of those were offensive, some of them were defense. But I feel like these guys are just, really locked in. The linebackers have been playing amazing. Miles Graham has leading the team in tackles. The pass rush, it's been good. It's been okay. It hasn't been great, but they've done a really good job in stopping the run, and the secondary has been pretty good at preventing those big throws downfield. So kind of keeping everything in front of them.
And you think they'll take a similar approach to defending Miami?
Yeah, I think they'll again keep everything in front of them because Miami has a bunch of speedy receivers, and the receivers are explosive. Carson Beck, he's played against SEC teams before. He's played against Florida before, so
yeah.
He'll know what to do against this type of defense. But again, for Florida to have success, it's like they have to obviously stop the running attack for Miami and prevent the penalties.
Yeah, so you mentioned the linebackers as a strength. Who else should Canes fans be worried about on Saturday from this defense?
Yeah, so I mean, Florida, one of their best defensive players, Caleb Banks, he made his debut last week against LSU, and unfortunately he suffered another injury. He was a defensive tackle, but some other guys, Tyreek Sapp is a really good edge rusher. Ejon Johnson's a really good defensive back. Florida, they're really well-rounded defensively. It's not like they have like one singular guy that carries the defense. So they have a bunch of different players that can make plays when they need to. But yeah.
So the other thing I kind of noticed was the kicking's been a little shaky. Because Trace Mack was a really good kicker last year, and he seems to at least early in the year be struggling a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? If there's a big kick, what's the confidence level of him making it at this point?
No, I don't. I'm so confident. He had a really tough game in the first game of the season. I think he missed like 3 field goals or something like that. But he also hit like his career long this season too. So it's like he's a veteran. He's a talented kicker. I don't really have any issues with him. But obviously, when the pressure's there, kickers tend to kind of unravel a little bit. But I don't know. I'm so confident.
Yeah, and Hard Rock tends to be actually a pretty kicker-friendly stadium. It's not fully enclosed, but you do kind of get the wind blocked out a little bit. So with like the half roof, so it does. Kickers tend to kick well there.
And do you know how the weather is going to be Saturday night? Is it going to be rainy or?
It is. There is some rain forecast, but I would say today and tomorrow is way worse than Saturday. So a little bit of dodged a bullet potentially. Although last weekend there was a huge lightning delay. So hoping to avoid anything like that. It's been pretty regular afternoon thunderstorms that time of year type of stuff. But so this is kickoff being a little later probably helps as well. But the chances of rain are in the 40% range versus it's been 70 to 80%. So
I mean, in the Miami weather, it's like you never know what's gonna happen.
Exactly, and if that lightning sensor trips, then we're all in for a long wait there. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Billy Napier and him trying to turn this around. I don't think anyone can fault him for losing a tight game at LSU. I mean, that's a top 5 team. You're on the road. And now again, of course, we talked about the schedule. He's got another top 5 team on the road this week. How important is this game for his tenure? He's, I think, pretty clearly on the hot seat. Is he getting into make or break territory here? How much? We're from Florida. We know how important this game is locally, but from the grand scheme of things, it's not a conference game. There's plenty of other big games left on the schedule because of the nature of Florida's schedule. So how important is this game for him?
No, this is probably the game of his life. I think he's, year 4 in Gainesville. It's kind of like, he's at I think a 20-21 overall record with the Gators, 10-15 against the SEC. And so, it's your fourth year and still you're kind of like on this up and down kind of trajectory. So, I think he's definitely on the hot seat. He's definitely probably on the hottest seat, I would say, in the country. Because I would say if Miami blows Florida out again like last season, I would think they'd let him go at that point because they have a bye week. Florida has a bye week after this game. And if you were going to fire if you were going to fire Napier, that'd probably be the perfect time to do it this season. But yeah, I think Florida fans are pretty much done with Napier at this point. And again, like last week wasn't his fault. Like obviously, those 5 interceptions didn't help. But it's just like the overall kind of recurring theme of, it's just been way too inconsistent. And for a program in the SEC, it's like that won't fly for a long time. And I'm surprised, he's already 4 years in, and the teams are still making the same results.
Yeah, I mean it's always so tough to evaluate because again the schedule is so brutal that it's hard.
Yeah.
You can take whoever you think the best team in the country is, and say you got to play at LSU, at Miami, A&M, Texas in a row. They're gonna lose some of those games. Like I mean, there's just no team in the country is like going 4-0 on that stretch of games. So I think the USF one is the one that really people are gonna point to and say, well, you shouldn't have lost that one.
Exactly.
And I think but we know how big this rivalry is. So if he gets a win on Saturday, all of a sudden, everything turns around. Then I feel because that the alumni, you make the alumni happy when you beat the rival. So then they get to talk smack at work and to all their colleagues it all turns around that way. So
no, if Florida could beat Miami this Saturday, I mean, I can't see it happening, but like that.
Well, I've been getting some heat for this because obviously, like when Florida loses to USF, and people want to say, well, if they lost at home to USF and then Miami blew out, I'm like, Florida's way better than USF. So this is a much more difficult game than that. Like I think people are. I expect Miami to win, like you said, you'd be surprised if UF wins, but I think people are exaggerating the gap between these two teams. I don't think it's nearly as big as the way some people are talking. I'm like that's Florida over there. Those kids on that roster are the same ones we tried to recruit. Like I don't know why you think they're
rivalry games.
It's a rivalry game. It's a very talented team. I think it's just question, can they play clean? If they do, it's going to be a ball game into the fourth quarter for sure.
I think the line is like a 8 or 7.5 points.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like a 12-point favorite. But I mean, these rivalry games, it really brings up the competitiveness in the players. And my question is, are Miami players going to overlook this game because they see a Florida team that's 1-2? They lost to USF, who Miami just blew out last week. So,
yeah, I mean everything. They're saying all the right things in the press conference, but we'll see on Saturday. Every single players know we're focused, and they obviously they know all these players know each other. They all went to high school together, so there's that. I think the fans, however. The Miami fans have gotten a little bit of like that team is still a good team that they're playing on Saturday. You might want to slow down a little bit there. Yeah. So I think it'll be a great game. It's going to be a fun one, like you said, the rivalry, the intensity. It's in prime time game days in town, so there's going to be a lot of hype around the game. So it should be a fun time. Are you going to be down? You're going to be down for the game, or?
I'll be down in Miami, but not like at the game itself.
Okay.
Because,
all right.
I got family in Miami, so I'll watch it with them. But I don't know. I'm expecting it to be like there's going to be obviously a large amount of Florida fans, but I don't know. Last year there were a bunch of UM fans up in Gainesville, so it'll probably be like kind of that same amount.
Yeah, no, there should be a pretty big Gator contingent. As you said, a lot of them live in Miami, so this is a local game for them. Yeah. It should be a great atmosphere. Aidan, go ahead and tell people where they can find all your work.
Yeah, so you could go to GatorsWire. Just search it up on Google. It's part of the USA Today sports media site, and you could follow me on X The handles under my name, Aidan Gallardo, with a 0 instead of the O at the end. And yeah, it should be a fun game on Saturday. Can't wait.
Yep. Neither can I. Thank you very much for taking some time to talk to me and educating our fans a little bit on the Gators.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I want to thank Aidan Gallardo again for joining us there and breaking down the big game, as well as our sponsor, 305-800 Pain. Make sure if you're in an accident, anything, just reach out to them. They'll guide you through the process. So definitely shout out to our sponsor, 305-800 Pain. They'll take care of you. Be sure to stay tuned to the next network. Friday night, Gal Revive from the women's basketball team should be on Buckets, our Canes basketball show. Busy day on campus on Saturday morning. With game day in town, so definitely head out there. Game 7:30 on Saturday night, and then post-game day after show, myself and DJ at 10 a.m. on Sunday, and then Monday 8:30 the full Six Rings Canes show. We'll have full breakdowns of the Canes and Gators, so stay tuned to the network, and as always, go Canes.